Good evening, friends. Welcome to this session. Today our discussion will be around UCP Part 2. We will be discussing Articles 4 to 8. Article 4 talks about credits versus contract. The documentary credit is issued by an issuing bank based on an undertaking wherein the buyer and seller had agreed that in return for supply of goods the payment will be through the means of a letter of credit. The credit issued by an issuing bank in favor of a beneficiary is totally independent and separate from the underlying sales contract. Credit is separate from the underlying contract. Credit is different from whatever contract the credit is based upon or whatever had triggered the credit. Banks are in no way concerned with the purchase of goods or the services to be rendered or any other agreement between the buyer and seller, and banks are not bound by such contracts even if the credit makes a reference to it. How does a credit make a reference to it? The credit says goods to be supplied as per purchase order number. The service or performance should be as per contract number. So even if the credit says so, banks are not concerned with such contracts. The undertaking to honor or negotiate by an issuing bank is not subject to the claims or defenses by the applicant irrespective of the relationships with the issuing bank. So by this what do we mean? The issuing bank and the applicant has a contractual relationship wherein the credit facilities have been granted and based on which the applicant gives an indemnity and asks the issuing bank to issue a credit. And then the applicant and beneficiary may have a different relationship because of the underlying sales contract. But the undertaking to honor or negotiate of the issuing bank is totally independent of all these sales contracts. The beneficiary cannot exploit these relationships. Beneficiary cannot take advantage of these relationships between the parties, maybe between issuing bank and advising bank, maybe issuing bank and applicant, whatever it is. As a professional practice, banks should discourage the applicant's attempt to include a condition in the credit or a document in the credit which requires performance by applicant, and also discourage including the portions of the contract or the contract itself or a copy of it to be part and parcel of the credit. Banks should discourage attempt by the applicant to include as a part of credit the contract, performa invoice or copies of such contract. The next article is documents versus goods, services or performance. In UCP 500 we used to have a clause says parties deal with. Now it has been made more clarified. Banks deal with documents. Banks do not deal with goods, services or performance. The other parties, buyer, seller, the insurance company, the transport company, we are not worried about those parties. We are not worried about other parties. We are worried only about banks, the issuing bank, the advising bank, the confirming bank, the nominated bank. Banks deal not with goods and services and performance, but only with documents. Banks also does not take cognizance of any other underlying contract, but the documents called for under the credit. The availability, expiry date and place for presentation is discussed in the next article, Article 6. Issuing bank, while issuing the credit, must state with which bank the credit is available. The credit should state with which bank the credit is available. What is available? There are two availables, available with and available by. Available by is available by honor or negotiation. Honor is side payment, deferred payment or acceptance, and that is available by. Available with is available with a specific bank, that is the nominated bank, or any bank, wherein whichever bank chooses to be the nominated bank can negotiate such a transaction. The credit is always available with the issuing bank. Whether the issuing bank makes the credit available with a specific bank or any bank, it is available with the issuing bank. Available by, as we discussed, is side, deferred or acceptance, that is the honor or negotiation. The credit should not be issued available by draft on applicant. The draft should not be drawn on applicant. Why? The applicant is strictly speaking not a party to the credit. He is party related to the credit, but he is not party to the credit. Credit is issued as an undertaking, a definite undertaking of the issuing bank. So the draft should be drawn, if at all, on the issuing bank. the credit must not state an expiry date for presentation. The credit can say document should be presented within 15 days of shipment. And when it says the LC will expire on a particular date, that's the last date for making presentation under the LC, making a drawing under the LC, submitting a presentation under the LC. If the credit mentions an expiry date for presentation, that is considered as the expiry date for the LC, the last date for the validity of the LC. Expiry for honor or negotiation or expiry for presentation is same as expiry date of the credit. Is deemed to the expiry date for honor or negotiation is deemed to the expiry date for presentation. Expiry date for presentation is deemed to the expiry date of the credit. The place of available with bank, if it is available with State Bank of India Chennai or Standard Chartered Bank Dubai or HSBC in Singapore, that place, Singapore or Dubai or Chennai, that place is the place where presentation should be made. The place of the available with bank, the place of the nominated bank with whom the credit has been made available with. Such a negotiating bank's place is the place where presentation has to be made. If it is available with any bank, then any place of any bank, the presentation can be made to. Suppose you choose to bank with Bank of America in New York, then you can place in New York. Or if you choose to bank with a Bankers Trust Company, that's a Deutsche Bank, then whichever place, suppose you choose the Deutsche Bank in Germany, then any place in Germany we can choose to be the bank. So it depends on availability any bank. Most of the time the credit is made available within a country. If it says available with any bank in India, available with any bank in Singapore, available with any bank in USA, it should be a particular country. It doesn't say anywhere in the world. Place for presentation is in addition to the place of the issuing bank. Why? Because the credit is anyways, whether a particular nominated bank has been nominated or is it available bank, it is always available with issuing bank. And so this place for presentation, that's a nominated bank's place, is in addition to the issuing bank's place. Presentation must be made on or before the expiry date, on or before the last date on which the LC is valid, by or on behalf of the beneficiary. If no presentation is made, then no bank is liable to check the documents and ensure whether it is complying or not, and so not due for any settlement. Now we shall have a look at the issuing bank undertaking, one of the most important articles, because this is where the issuing bank promises to make a payment, and we are trying to have a look at what are their responsibilities or what is their undertaking. If presented, if documents are presented to the nominated bank or to the issuing bank, how? It will be presented to nominated bank will send it forward saying it is compliant or just forward for approval and payment. So if presented to the nominated bank or to the issuing bank, what is presented? The drawing, the stipulated documents. And if the documents are complying means what? Complying with the terms and conditions of the credit, the standard banking practice, the standard rules, UCP. If it is complying, then issuing bank must honor. The word used here is must. Why? Because issuing bank issues an irrevocable definite undertaking. That's the definition of credit. So issuing bank must honor. So if presented by stipulated documents, complying stipulated documents, then issuing bank must honor. Whether it is presented to nominated bank or issuing bank must honor. If it is available with issuing bank and is in other nominated bank, then if it is available by side payment, deferred payment or acceptance, issuing bank has to make side payment or deferred payment and then undertake to pay on a deferred date and pay on a deferred date, or if it is by acceptance, they have to accept the drafts, and then if there is no draft, just accept the documents drawn and then pay on the due date. If it is available with a nominated bank and the nominated bank refuses to either pay or negotiate or to incur the deferred payment undertaking or to accept a draft, or accepts the draft and doesn't pay on due date, or incurs a deferred payment undertaking but does not pay on due date, in such circumstances, then the issuing bank has to honor. How do they honor? They have to make side payment. If it is available with side payment by nominated bank, they have to undertake a deferred payment undertaking and pay on deferred date. If it is available by deferred payment undertaking with the nominated bank, they have to accept and pay on due date if it is available by acceptance of the nominated bank. If the nominated bank accepts or incurs a deferred payment undertaking and doesn't pay on due date, on the due date, the issuing bank will have to pay. That is how they honor if it is available with the issuing bank. The issuing bank is irrevocably bound to honor the moment credit is issued. The moment credit goes out of control of the issuing bank, the moment SWIFT is transmitted or a physical copy of the LC is handed over to the party concerned, issuing bank's liability starts at that moment. Issuing bank is liable to reimburse the nominated bank when they have honored or negotiated. Honored or negotiated what? A complying presentation, and that has been forwarded to the issuing bank. A complying presentation which has been honored by the nominated bank and forwarded to the issuing bank. If the nominated bank can prove that they have done this, that the presentation was complying and they had honored and they have forwarded, then the reimbursement to the nominated bank is due from the issuing bank. Reimbursement is due whether or not the nominated bank purchased or prepaid. So if they have just honored a complying presentation and forwarded the doc, it's enough. It's not necessary they should have purchased or prepaid. That means what? It is not necessary that they should have negotiated the documents. If they just agreed, that is enough. If they have honored, that is enough. It is not necessary that they should have parted with funds. The underlying to reimburse a nominated bank, the undertaking by the issuing bank to reimburse a nominated bank is independent of the issuing bank's undertaking to the beneficiary. Issuing bank, by issuing an LC, promises the beneficiary that if stipulated documents are presented evidencing compliance with the terms and conditions in the credit, payment will be made as per LC terms. Now this undertaking is independent, and there is another undertaking between the issuing bank and nominated bank by virtue of the nomination, saying they will be reimbursed if they honor a complying presentation and forward the same to the issuing bank. Confirming bank's undertaking. What is undertaking of the confirming bank? Provided stipulated documents are presented, if and when there is a drawing made or a presentation made, and those are stipulated documents called for in the credit and that is complying. And if the presentation is made either to the nominated bank or to the confirming bank. In the previous article for issuing bank, we saw here it was confirming bank. Here it is confirming bank or nominated bank. It is not issuing bank here. It constitutes a complying presentation. If the presentation is complying presentation, then confirming bank must honor. Confirming must honor if it is complying. There is no question asked. How they honor? By said payment, deferred payment, or acceptance. When? If it is available with confirming bank. Okay, if it is available with any other bank, suppose it's a nominated bank, and if the nominated bank refuses either to pay or to undertake a deferred payment undertaking or to accept or to pay on maturity or to negotiate, if the nominated bank refuses at any point, either at the point of presentation or on the due date, then again the confirming bank has to honor. How they honor? By side payment, by deferred payment, acceptance, or negotiation. If the nominated bank refuses to negotiate, the confirming bank has to negotiate. But we have seen in case of issuing bank, there is no question of negotiation by issuing bank. Why? You can only negotiate what is drawn on somebody else. Because the documents are drawn on the issuing bank, because issuing bank is the issuing party of the credit, they don't negotiate. They either make a side payment or a deferred payment, or they accept and pay on due date. The confirming bank must negotiate without recourse. Why without recourse? Because they have confirmed. And then if it is available by negotiation with the confirming bank. If the credit is available with the confirming bank, they have to negotiate without recourse. The confirming bank is irrevocably bound to honor or negotiate if and when it adds confirmation. The moment credit is issued, issuing bank is liable. The moment confirming bank adds its confirmation, they are liable. How they are liable? Irrevocably bound. For what? To honor or negotiate. What does it mean? It means they undertake to reimburse another nominated bank that has honored or negotiated and forwarded the documents to the confirming bank. In case of issuing bank Article 7, the document should have been forwarded to issuing bank. In the case of confirming bank, document should be forwarded to confirming bank. If that is done, if the nominated bank has honored, negotiated and forwarded to the confirming bank, then the confirming bank undertakes to reimburse the nominated bank. Reimbursement to nominated bank is due at maturity. Reimbursement to nominated bank is due at maturity, whether or not the nominated bank prepaid or purchased. Irrespective of whether they have purchased or prepaid, reimbursement is due to the nominated bank on maturity if it is complying and the documents have been forwarded saying they have honored the transaction. The undertaking to reimburse the nominated bank is independent of undertaking to beneficiary. By adding confirmation, the confirming bank tells the beneficiary that country risk, bank risk and other related risk will be covered and I will be paying you because I am confirming this LC. Now, irrespective of that and independent of that, the confirming bank has to reimburse the nominated bank. If they have honored or negotiated and forwarded the documents, they have to reimburse the nominated bank. In case the confirming bank is not willing to act as per the nomination for confirmation, nomination or request and authorization to add confirmation. The request and authorization to add confirmation will come from the issuing bank to the nominated bank as a bank-to-bank instruction under a credit, or the credit may say in the confirmation field in SWIFT, may add or with. If that is the case, and if the confirming bank is not willing, then they have to inform the issuing bank. If authorized or requested to confirm but not willing, they should inform the confirming bank. and they may advise the credit without adding confirmation. The confirming bank may advise the credit without adding confirmation. So these are the small explanation or interpretation of the articles 4 to 8. We shall have a discussion at the other articles on another session. Thanks for watching the video. Keep coming.